Welcome back to my 1270 Night Elf Druid walkthrough. I am level 25 currently with 229 gold. Pretty crappy gear. I'm still supporting them level 8 hands. No trinkets, no rings. In this part I will be going from 25 to 30, probably mostly through dungeons with some questing involved. Unfortunately, I do believe the Darkmoon Fair is over, which sucks because that kind of ends on Saturday. I missed it by a little bit, however, it's only 10%, so it won't slow me too much. However, nothing to it but to do it, so let's get started. I'm gonna go ahead and go back to Bear and hope I don't get destroyed in this dungeon. I don't mind DPSing, but with experience, it's really a lot better to try to tank because tanking, you kind of have control of the entire dungeon. Got some interesting talents. Increased movement speed can be pretty useful in a dungeon. This right here kind of sucks. It's more for PvP. That's more for damage. That's not bad. Plus we get... I thought that was charged. Never mind. That's kind of an interesting ability. Layered main. Let's see. I'll go with a speed boost here. Now comes the rough part, because as a tank, realistically, I don't need anything else in this. Maybe not even that, because I can't heal or do magic damage that I'm aware of at least. So let's go with just toss these there. Kind of throwaway points. I wish you could kind of change this, or there's a little more in the way of abilities that would be helpful, because Cat really isn't helpful in bear form, in my opinion. Go ahead and check my spells, make sure I got everything on my action bars. I'm gonna get queued up and knock out some dungeons. While I wait, I'll just do quests. From last time, I do still have some quests to turn in. I got a quest all the way down here for some reason, which pays out a lot, so I probably will head down there at some point.
You need something? Be careful. Light bless
No
you.
one else. Need help? Go with honor, friend.
I think I finally got a pair of hands. Even though the item levels are really nice, the fact that it doesn't have secondary stats kind of sucks, but it is still an upgrade. At this point, anything would be an upgrade. Looks like I'm coming to the point that I'll be heading to the next zone soon. It's kind of odd they don't have the chapters in this zone, but it is what it is. This is something I forgot to mention. If you're getting hit, you do have the issue of you can't sometimes interact with stuff. For example, plants, quests. They can stop you. And it's Ganamagon. Not too bad of a dungeon. I haven't done it yet, so I do have quests.
You have a great day now.
Starting with this, if you don't have the quest, you have to go to the right up here and grab that little box that has a parachute in it. When you enter a dungeon, it's very important not to pull extremely big because sometimes the healer lags behind a little bit. Perfect timing on that. The boss is like right here. I might end up dying though because I'm not getting much in the way of healing. Some healers like to kind of wait a little bit. Looks like I still do have the Darkman Fair buff for about another 30 minutes. I am missing my own buff though. My damage isn't too good, however, we got two pumping warlocks doing pretty massive damage. For the most part in this dungeon, you can kind of see where you need to go through the map, which is nice. Both warlocks are kind of low level, so that kind of explains why their damage is so high. Because it's pretty high. That mixed with heirlooms is definitely kind of broken in this game. As a tank, it's hard to hold aggro on someone if they do excessive amounts of damage because the game really isn't meant for that. I am surprised I'm taking this much damage, but I think I'm also not getting healed very much. So sometimes people, well, I don't know. I thought they might be doing damage, but they're not really doing damage either. One way you can tell is you can actually go to healing done and see. And this kind of shows that they actually aren't doing that much healing if I'm keeping up with them with the one spell. As a tank, this can be pretty useful to know just for the fact of you know what you can and can't pull. Like usually, if I had heirlooms, I'd probably be pulling like 4 groups at once if possible. But with this type of healing, I would have to kind of go back a little bit on that. I don't have my speed boost yet. That speed boost is kind of nice because without it, you have no other way to increase your speed without jumping into cat form, which means you lose most of your rage. Usually if there's no elite mob, there's no point of stopping. Let's see when I get to my movement speed increase. Unless they took it out of the game, you used to get one that gives everybody movement speed. But I'm not seeing it.
Electric justice.
Yeah, I don't think the healer's paying attention very much here. I mean, I'm out healing them by far. Sometimes, oh, healer's lagging. That's not good. Definitely have to throw some healing spells on my action bars. I was wondering why the healer was struggling so much. That explains why. Whenever you get the parachute, make sure to open your bags and use it, because you do take a sizable chunk of damage when you fall. It's also important to try to aim for the door.
Interesting. Be seeing you.
It's really easy to do that and pull a bunch of stuff. I can keep pulling. I've tanked a lot. I know my range. I didn't actually realize that the healer was AFK. No, not AFK, but disconnected. Sometimes you will have to kick people when that happens. Best way to pull your groups now would be just to toss a couple overtimes on yourself and pull. Warlock's kind of helping out with their pet. Kind of starting to look like they're gone for good. I'll do one more pull, and if they're not back, kick them. I'm not a huge fan of kicking people, but sometimes you just have to do it. It's not really an option. If it was a DPS, I could give them more time, but as a healer, it pretty much makes us all sit here do nothing for a good amount of time. You just gotta make sure Q back up. Okay, it looks like they got in. Yeah, I'm already getting like a massive amount more healing than the last person. So one thing that sucks as a tank, especially low level, you kind of lack your self-sustainability that you would have in higher levels. So if your healer is having issues or something, then you're kind of at the mercy of your healer. I have one healing spell, one damage reduction, and oh, I'm about to die button. I don't know why it has a dollar sign. That's very odd. Must be a new player too. It's throwing me off a little bit when I see the picture there, because it makes me think it's somebody else who has aggro. Now I remember I am actually a Death Knight right now with a staff. I get a stampeding shout over here somewhere. Yeah, it's all the way down here though. That sucks. Yeah, this is not. What's sad is I'm not even taking that much damage. The healers are just wanting to go AFK. It seems like in these dungeons. I mean, our warlock slinging fireball is about to out damage or out heal our healer.
Usurpers! Numbers is mine!
In dungeons, it's nice if you can do your as a healer or do DPS, but it's not required. I don't know if they are doing DPS, but your main role needs to always be to heal first, DPS second, because no matter how much you do, usually you won't out damage your tank or your DPS.
My machines are the future! They'll destroy you all!
Yeah, another time of how I'm out healing the healer with one ability. Kind of unfortunate. This is why you can't get discouraged if you do die sometimes in a dungeon. I've been tanking for years in WoW. I've died a couple times now. The stuff that, I mean, you can only pull one group at a time at the least.
And stay dead!
CCing is possible, but kind of pointless, or you really shouldn't need to CC at this level. Oh, here we go. Here's my charge. That's what I wanted. Make sure I turn my quest. Sometimes I stay with groups, like the warlocks are pretty good. However, the healer is kind of an issue.
Off and away!
Let's see what I get here. Pretty nice waist. Usually it's best not to be too hard on people. Like I won't say anything unless the healing's extremely low or they're just like AFKing off to the side. I'll be like, hey, I need some more healing. You're better off always keeping a more chill composure in a dungeon than just completely going off on someone. Because there are ways for people to troll in dungeons. One huge perk of tank is that you get instant queues most of the time. Here's another dungeon I don't think I've done yet. This is a really good dungeon. It's pretty fast, even though it does have a lot of bosses. They're kind of back-to-back bosses.
What can I do for you? Light bless you.
You got to make sure to turn your quests though every time. I think it's like after every boss or every other boss. If you don't, then you can't complete it because it goes the first one to kill the second one to kill the third or something to that extent. Here, nice little trick if you need it. This cannon can do massive amounts of damage to pull everything. Have a DPS shoot it. If you're with someone, just tell them, hey, jump in the cannon, blast away. This is like a pretty solid group. I did forget one major thing, which was to repair. My head is yellow. I also forgot to buff. Go back to damage. Have a pretty solid damage group. As a tank, you will be pulling probably the lowest damage single target wise. Tanks aren't meant to do high single target, they're meant to do high AoE. That way they can hold aggro. Just trying to get my armor up really quick, that way I can pull big. Personally, I like pulling big versus single mobs. I just think it's a lot more fun. Some people, when they tank, they'd like to try to play it super safe. I don't really see a point in that, though. I mean, if you're staying full health the entire run, why not pull more? You'll make the dungeon go faster.
It's too far away.
Get my little blood elf toy on. You do want to try not to get your rage capped if possible. That way you're always using abilities. You have this as a armor increase, so you always have something you can sink it into, or you can even use Maul, which is extra single target damage, if you don't need the armor.
The mistress will pay me handsomely for your head.
I forgot to mention I am 26, almost 27. Just kind of iterates how fast dungeons are with a solid group. If you had to go in terms of role of importance, I would say it's tank, healer, and then DPS. Mostly because if you have 3 DPS and one isn't very good, the others can kind of make up for it. Even if you have 2 DPS and the other one's not 2 DPS out of 3 aren't very good, you can still kind of make up for that too. However, if all 3 DPS are super weak, then you kind of run into issues. However, that still can be made up for by the tank and healer at higher levels. And especially at max level when you have like gear, better gear.
I can beat him. Not when I've got you, Oaf. Scales have tipped.
Still waiting for when I'm supposed to turn that quest in. I might have already missed it. Usually it pops up whenever it's supposed to be turned in. Sometimes you can do that. I've actually never had to do that where you go into the thing and change it or complete it. Didn't even really know you could do that. So sometimes you do want to check your quest, like if you finish it, and then if it lets you turn it in, go ahead and turn it in. However, I messed up because I didn't turn it in when I was supposed to, so now I can't do the rest of the dungeon quest, which kind of sucks because it does lose like I think there's like 3 more quests after that one. This is one thing that kind of sucks is the hunter's pet has growl on. You can say something, I mean, technically it does help you some because the pet takes the damage, but if the pet dies and the hunter's a beastmaster, then they do a lot less damage, so it's kind of a hit or miss. And when the pet dies, you also don't instantly have aggro over it, so if someone's doing more damage than you, they might get aggro.
Code Reaper 5000 online. All systems nominal.
This boss just runs around a bunch. It doesn't really matter too much. Doesn't even really do much damage.
Harvesting servers engaged. Secure switches offline. Catastrophic system failure imminent. Overdrive engine activated.
I've actually never had this boss live this long before.
System failure. Weak clock in port 2. Shutting down.
I go ahead and pop bark skin, that way I can reduce my damage taken a little bit. Usually you would want to pull it out of this bubble because it increases their damage too, but since I'm not taking too much damage, I just leave them in it. If you find yourself taking too much damage, you definitely want to move the mobs out of it. If you do it right, you can move them out and still stand in it, but honestly, it's a huge pain to do that. Not sure what they're fighting back there. Probably trying to get a chest or something. Those really aren't worth going out of the way for. With a double 50% increased damage buff, I think I'm fine here. For this, you do have to watch those, because if you get knocked in the water, you have to run all the way back around. Usually you don't want to get hit in the back, but stopping here is just a waste of time. It's really only elite mobs you have to worry about that with. Again, here you can use the cannon to kill this stuff almost instantly. A lot of people don't know that though, oddly enough, even though this dungeon's been out for forever. It's a really nice cheat way to like knock all this out. You just pull big groups, pull it to the cannon, and just obliterate it. Go ahead and use my hope I don't die button because I don't need it for the rest of the instance. It is okay to use it sometimes if you want to do big pulls, especially if your healer's pretty reliable. As a tank, some people don't use cooldowns, and that causes them not to be able to pull big like this. However, if you just rotate through your cooldowns, you always have something up usually. Either it's one frenzy regeneration, which also increases my healer's healing, so that's a pretty powerful cooldown.
It's too far away.
Fresh meat. Do you feel that chill running up your spine? The fog is rolling in.
Then you just sit here and spam your AoE ability. Don't have to worry too much about aggro of these. They don't do any damage. Then you got this boss, and after you have to kill Cookie, which is a Murloc. You just walk in there, he comes out, sits in a soup bowl. Pretty much, you don't even need a tank for that fight.
I can smell your fear.
Doesn't really matter if you dot him, I'm fairly certain, yeah, he cleanses it off before he goes in there anyway. If not, it could cause bugs, I'm guessing. We do have a 39 Shaman. I'm kind of surprised he hasn't used Hero this entire time.
Not find her until it is too late.
I always think this is an interesting fight. Pretty much the gist of this fight is they throw food out. Some of the food glows holy, some of it glows diseased. If you eat the disease, you can then eat the holy to purge it. Because I think the disease food puts a debuff on the ground. Like that. Then you just eat a holy piece, and it's gone. You also get a damage buff, so melee range of spell casting speed increased by 20%, which is huge. Especially if you stack it up. You don't even have to eat the bad food. As a tank, this buff really isn't that useful to me, though. It's better than it sitting on the ground, however, having a boomkin take it or something to that extent, Hunter, probably more worth it to let them have it. And my first ring, it just took me till level 27. Got a talent. Oh, I finally got this. I think that'll be a pretty interesting one, especially how much I spam it. That's not too bad either. Just depends. I need to go find a repair person before my head breaks mid-fight. I'm fairly certain there's one over here. Most little small areas have them. Plus I could use to sell out.
I supply only the finest goods. Have a good one.
Thank you. After saying that, I forgot to repair. As I can still see over here.
Good day to you. See you later.
50 silver is not too bad. I'm up to 397 gold. So at 30, I could potentially buy my mount if I really needed to. But like I said before, you don't really need to on a druid. You could kind of save that expense till later. especially since I don't think I'm exalted yet, so I don't get the max discount, which even though it's like 200 or something gold, so the discount really isn't that impressive. You
Like
might
the
actually have to buy it for Druid. I'm not 100% sure on that
the
one.
Alliance.
That's some decent quest over here that I can go turn in. Since there's a flight master, if I wanted to go turners in, I just use that to fly back, run down, run back, fly back. Fastest way to do it.
Well met. Go with honor.
At some point, this is going to send me over to Red Ridge Mountains. As you can tell, though, if I had only done questing, I would only have a 8 agility 12 stand pair of pants versus having the 7 crit also. That's why doing dungeons, if you don't have heirlooms, is so important. You just get such good gear that it's worth doing them, even if you don't want to dungeon the entire time.
Safe travel.
And there's my quest to go into Red Ridge. If I was going for the ultimate speed to get to 60, 100%, I would just dungeon all the way. Because your gear will stay up to date. If you play into DPS, you might have to wait occasionally for queues, so quests at the same time.
Greetings. Go with honor, friend.
I'm already level 27 after 38 minutes, and I'm like 3 bars from 28. So not doing too bad. Just depends on how fast the queue is. I signed up as tank and DPS. Sometimes you will get DPS. It very rarely happens, but that kind of goes for any game you play, though. If there's a tank role, healer role, and DPS role, everyone wants to play DPS. Most of the time, no one wants to play tank or healer. Tank usually has the most responsibility of any game. Healer usually has the second most responsibility, especially in raids. Then healers probably move up to the first. I think tanking raids is really boring.
Good day to you.
If I raid, I
Hello.
usually do heals or DPS. If I do Mythic Pluses, I usually do any role because I find them all kind of fun to do in those. To do Mythic Pluses, which is like above Mythic tier, and it goes up to like 15, but I think they recently increased it to 20 as having like the highest gear you can get. It's something you have to do weekly, and then once you do it, you get like a item in a chest. So that is pretty nice. It's like a guaranteed item, however, it's not guaranteed to be an upgrade, which I think is kind of dumb. I think they have kind of tried to fix it a little bit to make it a little more viable. It used to be you just get a random piece of gear, and my luck 9 times out of 10, I would get my highest item level piece, and it wouldn't be an upgrade.
Need something? See you later.
Like I could have all these low item level pieces, and the best piece is just a random head I got maybe from a pug, which is a group of random players. And then I'm going to get the head, which is like a 1 item level upgrade versus having no ring type of upgrade. Even though at max level it's not that drastic, but it is pretty high. Sometimes you can buy gear off the auction house too to kind of level yourself out when you hit max level. I don't know how that is this expansion. I haven't played too much. I kind of took a break from the expansion because I did not like the crafting system, which I think I talked about earlier. I don't mind crafting, but I don't like crafting to be required. I want to sometimes just hit max level, knock out dungeons, get good gear. I don't want to have to go and farm and craft. I want it to be an option though. One thing Blizzard's super worried about in this game is time gating though. That's kind of like their main thing. It's been really bad in the past. However, now it's not as bad. A lot of games don't time gate that I'm aware of at least. Like Black Desert Online doesn't really time gate. I think it also has like the funnest combat out of any expansion or any game I've played. It's just very flashy, interactive combat. However, that can cause a little bit of lag if your computer isn't the best. Because I am running a system that I've had for about 5 to 6 years. However, it's a super good computer. I've still had it for 5 to 6 years, so it's getting up there in age, but it does work fairly well.
Have a good one.
Sometimes you do have to use cat form indoors just because you can't use travel form indoors. I actually got in as a DPS. That's surprising. Of course, my DPS spec isn't set up because I never thought I would get in as it. It's pretty easy to fix that really quick. Put one in range. Both of these are equally nice, so I don't really know which one I want. However, I think I'll take the burst ability. Of course, after doing all that, now I'm not going to get in, but it rolls that way sometimes. And now it's going to re-queue me, and put me in as a tank.
Careful. Light bless you, or the Alliance.
Sometimes you can just jump down. I think cat form still gets a reduced damage reduction for falling, so that is nice. My damage isn't too bad. It seems to be keeping up somewhat decent. Not great though. Looks like there's someone over here I gotta kill. Kill or pick up? Pick up. One thing that is nice about WoW, now that they've came out with WoW Classic, which I actually think WoW's pretty fun in terms of the Classic. However, Classic is super time consuming. I think retail is pretty time consuming too, which I'm not a huge fan of. Once you get, it's time consuming up front, but once you hit the end game, you got nothing to do. So I am kind of interested to see how heirlooms affect leveling. However, I will have to spend gold to increase most of my heirlooms. I don't think I have a full set of heirlooms that goes to 60 at the moment. Got some kill quest over here. Gotta kill all these guys. As a caster, you do want to try to pull from range if possible. You're not a melee, so the time traveled will do damage, so it is kind of nice. You don't have to worry about them hitting on you and stuff.
Closer. It's too far away.
Looks like we got a rare up here. Spoil this. And don't be afraid to use your cooldowns when you need to. Especially on rares, because they can do a lot of damage sometimes. Got a pet, I already got one of those, however, you can go 3 out of 3, little tarantula. The only thing I like to do with the companions is summon them. Here's a little ghoul companion. You know it's a hard up day when you're getting in as DPS. I have found that DPS sometimes, or more commonly, you will get into the middle of a dungeon. This is a fresh dungeon, so I'm a little surprised by that. This is a very fast dungeon, which is nice. Which I am currently just in a 28, so this will do nice to show how much experience I get. I still don't have the best way of dotting stuff, unfortunately, which comes from just leveling up and getting talent points.
It's too far away.
Man, this warrior is killing it damage. I'm not doing too bad. I'm higher than most of the other damage dealers, however, he's actually killing it. Some of it's because he is making the mobs move, which is, as a caster, the death of you in terms of damage. Druids kind of get around this a little bit with having dots, but at this level I can't really apply them very effectively, so once I get caught up, then I still have to like cast stuff. There we go. Huh. Dude's pretty decently top level geared. I'm not sure what the current max level gearing is in terms of stuff, but he runs pretty nice gear. I'm not too worried about gearing personally. At one point in time, I really enjoyed in-game content on WoW. However, I enjoy leveling and doing stuff like that more now. Plus, it gives me the ability to make leveling guides and stuff like that for new players.
I need to target something first.
It's always good to pop stuff on bosses. This probably won't be back up before we get to the next boss, unfortunately, though.
I need to target.
Druids are the weakest on this type of boss because when they summon those, most of my damage comes from casting, and they die so fast that I can't actually do much to them.
I don't have a target.
Uh-oh. Yeah, I wish I didn't realize he was going to do that. Huge downside to Starfall. It pulls everything that has this combat added onto it. With the way the new scaling system works, you can play with people from max level if you sync up with them. There is some issues that I have found with it though. I think it nerfs the experience quite a bit for the people that you queue up with in terms of your group. However, it doesn't nerf it for the people that are randoms. Mostly because for this reason, like this guy's pretty much blasting through everything. As a new player, if you do plan to play the game, buying buying DragonFlight is a good idea. You do get a free boost, which will give you basically level 60. So that would definitely be the fastest way to 60 at this point, since you get it for free anyway for just buying the game. One thing I wish WoW would do away with is their subscription. Subscription is kind of a bummer. You can buy it with in-game gold. However, unless you can make 300,000 gold in an hour, most jobs now probably pay around $10 to $15 an hour. So hour and a half of work will get you a month of WoW time, or 10 hours of farming in WoW might get you a month of WoW time. To me personally, I don't think it's worth it unless you have some of the occasions like at the start of expansion, everything's super inflated, so you can make a lot of gold with a very short amount of time. Right now would be a bad example of it because I'm guessing that the market's pretty oversaturated at this point, so making any fast gold probably just isn't going to happen. And I hit 28 and 2 bars off. You can see if they want to do another dungeon. If the healer and tank leave, usually you're better off just go ahead and leaving. The queue goes a lot slower. This is also why you need to really watch where you zone into a dungeon at, because the second you come out, you're fighting the stuff. That was not what I meant to hit. In a lot of games, pulling like this is pretty optimal as long as you don't kill yourself. Vanilla Classic probably is one of those games that is not, because that game is quite more challenging than this one. A lot more time consuming to level, all that stuff. However, it's a really fun game because of how challenging it is to level, I think. This game has very little challenge to it, in my opinion. In-game content has some challenge, but to be honest, most of the challenge in the in-game content is the other players than it is the actual game mechanics. A lot of this stuff's pretty simple. For example, one game mechanic, I don't know if it's still in Mythic Plus or not, for dungeons, is something called explosive, which requires someone to click to it, damage it before it explodes, and does damage to your entire group. Pretty easy mechanic to work with, however, usually melee, I think it is, deal with it. So if you have one melee and they decide to not do it, you die. Mythic Pluses all have these kind of weird mechanics with them. There's necrotic, some other stuff. Usually they add in a new one on occasion to keep it different. If you pull mobs of different species, usually it will not pull them. Sometimes it can, though. As you can tell, that's Starfall's range. It has a massive range.
Need a target. I need to get closer.
Oh, the camera messed up there. I think for the most part only humans flee, so you don't have to worry about that with Beast. Now I just have to go back here and get the giblets and the eyes. Toss a heal. WoW's questing system is pretty nice. It does kind of show you your area you need to go to get your stuff. Wasn't always that well. Once you get flying, it does actually help with speed quite a bit. Mostly because you go up 50% faster in terms of your moving. You don't have stuff you have to run around. Won't ever aggro stuff like that.
You need something? Safe travels.
I'm gonna light you up, sweet cheeks.
Light bless you. Go with honor, friend.
Not too bad, still not very good.
Careful.
That bag. Yeah, I really need to go buy bags. However,
Honor, friend.
I don't really find myself needing them too much at the moment. Yeah, they really gotta fix the gear scaling. That is not an item level 72. I mean, I'm wearing an 80 with far better stats. Oh, I did forget to open that though. See, I mean, that's an item level 86 and it has way better stats than level 72. Given it is a lower item, well, lower item per se, but it shouldn't be that. For 10 item level points isn't usually that drastic of a change, especially at max level. Gonna open this back up. Let's see. That's pretty nice. The only thing that sucks about having that one is you have to really watch your astral power spending because I don't think it tells you when you proc that. So if you're in the middle of a raid and say you're going to an intermission phase, like the boss goes up or something, then you get that for 12 seconds and it's gone. Or if you're about to go into a boss fight, you can set it up to have like enough to where the first one of these 40 sets it off. Trying to decide if I want to swap zones or not after level 30. I don't mind these zones, but after a while, they're
What can I do for you?
badly
See you
basic
around.
zones.
How are you? Safe travels. Well met. For the Alliance, light bless you. Be careful.
And these are definitely the zones I've played the most. As always, make sure to get all the quests. If you're still hurting for bag space, make sure to sell out.
How are you?
Up to
See
528
you
gold
later.
so far, not doing too bad. This quest used to really suck because now I think it kind of points you in the right direction if I remember right. Used to be you had to kind of like scour this entire thing. I think it's just like over here under a rock. I could be wrong about that. Looks like I might be wrong about that. Sometimes you do have to look these quests up because, like with the Westfall quest, it doesn't shine like it's supposed to, which tells you where it's at. So you'll like fly around. Well, not fly around, but you'll like wander around. There it is. Don't really need to kill that, so I can just kind of do that. Fish can't follow you out of water, so once those die, it actually might kill. Well, the trees might actually kill it. Nope.
Hey there. Have a good one.
I'm probably going to regret not signing up for a dungeon. Because I'm especially now I'm getting to the point where questing does tend to be quite a bit slower. However, starting a new zone, I do get better in terms of quest.
Well met.
At some point, I'm really hoping for a WoW 2 just to kind of do a full reset on the game. Like they transfer over mounts and stuff, but not your gold. I think the game desperately needs new everything instead of basically they've kind of been remastering old content, which isn't the worst idea, Like Classic was awesome. I really enjoyed the game. I didn't enjoy dying a ton, but and then they started making Classic with like little tweaks, like oh you level a little bit faster. Oh talents don't cost as much, stuff like that. Little quality of life changes that make the game a lot more fun. Because one of the biggest things that I hate about Classic is talents. Once you spend them, it costs so much to switch them. And I'm so used to retail where you can swap them anytime you want. There's a rare mob. I'm gonna have to be careful here. Kind of let this mob wander back over to me before I kill it. This is gonna be one of those kind of dicey situations.
I need to get closer.
Let's see what I got. That's a pretty nice bag. It's level 66. It's odd that I'm getting better stuff from drops than I am from quests. This bag might actually be better than what I'm using from the dungeon. Kind of goes to show you item level isn't everything. And that's a level 26 bag. I could have used that 3 levels ago. I'm going to pull the rest of the mobs I need. 2 starfalls. 2 heals. Then once I proc this, these will drop shooting stars a little bit faster.
I need a target.
Make sure I don't have any quest items. Pretty good. It's odd that my quests are paying me 9 gold, but a lot of my gear isn't selling for like 15 silvers.
Hey there.
Yeah, like stuff's still selling for like 6 coppers. It's really odd how they didn't scale the drops in the world, but they scaled the quest. I guess it's kind of a quick fix, in my opinion,
Good day to you.
because it is nice that some, well,
Have a good
that
one.
quest doesn't give any gold, but
What can I do for you? For the
it is
Alliance,
nice that the quest gives like 10 gold, which is this would be like 30 drops.
go with honor, friend. Greetings. Light bless you.
Takes me a second sometimes to figure out how I'm supposed to do this. Oh, I just had to walk here. And now I just go get my supplies and kill things. The classic MMO quest. Another rare. I need 2 bars. Let's see what I get for this. It's kind of odd how much rares differ. I just killed a Spyro over there that actually took a while to kill. This one killed a couple seconds. Still got about a quarter bar of experience. Not great, but it's still better than a normal mob kill, so can't complain too much. Finally got that to proc. That's part of another quest. I don't think I'll get to that quest today. I don't have too much of a worry of someone coming through and taking my stuff. Another nice thing about druids, if I had flying for, I could literally just fly over here and collect crates. So if I didn't even have that other quest, I could do this in like seconds. Gonna have to go this way to avoid the big guy. Usually what I would do here is use Sunfire to pull the mobs, that way... Whoop. Almost died there. Use Sunfire because my Moonfire hits 2 targets, it makes it a lot easier to pull. Another quest. Just need 2 more crates. One nice thing with the crates is I can kind of do it after I finish the kill quest part, so it's not horrible if I don't finish it beforehand. However, my last crate's right there, so I'm fine. Yeah, the only thing I don't like about that talent is I have no way of knowing when it's going to proc. So I might use this to finish off one of these mobs, and it'll proc and go waste. My gear is starting to show a little bit now at this point, even with dungeons. So you kind of... I might actually have to go buy it before it'll let me use my flying. I didn't think I had to do that. That's what it's looking like, at least. However, these are going to be quests for the next time. Go ahead and spend my talent. AoE Sunfire. Finally. Now I just use Moonfire to pull everything. Sunfire, and then everything dies. I'll go ahead and turn in this quest real quick. That way I don't have any left.
Well met.
Even though I'm perfectly into 30 right now.
Careful. Light bless you.
Go ahead and sell out again.
Open for business. See you later.
I will go ahead and sell that offhand because I've had it for so long at this point that it isn't going to be
Have a good
usable.
one.
As always, it is important to log out and in. It's instant, plus you get rested experience if you happen to play for a couple days.
Open for business. Farewell.
Looking for something specific?
You get food, drink, water, whatever you can need in here in terms of that.
Looking for something specific? Safe travels.
So this is level 25 to 30 completed. Until next time, I will be doing probably 30 to 35 pure dungeon because I'm going to be honest, questing is at this point super slow and the gear is just killing me. But that's next time.